learning. First day of school is extremely important. And, you know, it is important to say this. I mean, we saw so many great things happening in schools, brand new schools, kids enthusiastic. It's just a shame it has to be overshadowed by the transportation problems that occurred after school. So once again, our apologies to our families, our staff, our students, our bus drivers. I just recently met with bus drivers, a group of bus drivers, made sure that they knew, and I hope the community knows. In no way are we saying that the issues that we have faced are issues with the bus drivers whatsoever. They worked extremely hard, and we are working to make a much better experience for bus drivers as they move forward. You know, the change process is challenging. There is no doubt about it. I said it in my video. The amount of change we are taking on is unprecedented. It is not something that I say is an excuse, but change is hard. And we've had a whole lot of people have to change the way we do things. And what that has meant is it's brought up some issues that we've had to deal with. Quite candidly, we should have anticipated those problems better than what we did, and we did not do that. And once again, I say that's on me and my team. So, you know, we are fixing those right now. So we have been working towards some short-term solutions, some things that we want to get done to make efficiencies much better, to get our students back in school, and then also some long-term solutions that we will be working on to improve routes as we go forward. You know, some of the challenges that we are facing, without a doubt, we're operating right now on about 400 less routes than we did nearly 8 to 10 years ago. And that is immense. And so about 10 years ago, I was a principal. We had over 900 routes in our district at the time. Right now, we're down to about 575, something there in that range, a little over 550. I don't have the exact number. But the point being there is how many routes we have dropped as a result of transportation shortages with bus drivers. And that has really stretched us very thin. Obviously, we couldn't, as I've said before, we couldn't continue to do what we were doing before. And so making this massive change was an attempt to make sure we could get every kid to school at the right time. We had way too many kids missing school, and I've documented that many times. But that has definitely stretched us very thin. We're working on 2 student assignment plans right now. So we are working on a student assignment plan, the former student assignment plan. We're working on the new student assignment plan for K-6 and 9th graders. So we may say that is too much to take on. For me, it felt like it is something we have to do to make sure that we can meet the needs of our kids. Obviously, all new systems for bus drivers and schools. Issues that we're working on fixing with depots, where kids are brought into our depots and they are dropped off and to get on another bus. Because once again, we are a district who provides transportation to nearly every kid who requests it. We have never been a district who denies transportation to certain kids if they choose a school that's outside of their neighborhood or community. And so we could argue that, but that's something that we have not done. And so when kids come to depots, they have to get on another bus. If one bus is late, the depot then waits for that bus to show up so that all kids can transfer buses. That has led to some time challenges as 10, 15, 20 buses at a depot wait for 1 or 2 buses to come in. But they are things we can fix, though, and so we are addressing those as we move on. It's also been a big challenge talking to bus drivers. Bus drivers told me about this. Our kids not really being very clear about what their bus stop is, which is something we've got to work on, and that's on us to work with our schools, or parents not meeting their youngest child at the bus stop, which means often they've had to turn around and take the child back to school. When you have 3 start times now, or 3 main start times, a 2:40, a 3:40, and a 4:40, or excuse me, end times of 2:20, 3:20, and 4:20, what that means is anytime you have that situation, it backs everything up. And that, especially on the first day, when you have a lot of children, young children who may not be confident about their bus stops. So once again, I said I met with bus drivers. We've identified over the past 24 hours a list of efficiencies we are going to make short term. And once again, I'll say long term, we are going to work to make sure that we look at routes with our bus drivers, with our compound coordinators, to make sure that we can be efficient. I believe we can be very successful with our new start time plan. I don't think the start times were the issues. We have a lot of other issues that we have to fix around transportation. So moving forward, I want to be clear to our families. I've been asked this question we are in no way considering NTI. And so that has been a common question around NTI. I will say this again. We have 10 days we can use for NTI for the entire school year. There is no other way around that. Those will be reserved for the real snow days that could occur in the wintertime. And so once again, families, there has been zero discussion about any instruction on NTI whatsoever. We will ask our board to forgive as many days as we are legally able to. And so parents ask about whether we will add days on or not. We are dictated by state requirements that say students have to be in school for a certain number of hours per year, seat time. We go above that by about 4 days. And so what we can do, depending on how the year shapes out, whether we have a snow delay in the start of school for a couple hours, that counts, or snow cancellations, those type of things. But we will be asking our board, pending what happens with the weather, to forgive as many days as possible of the ones that students are missed. So I've gotten a lot of questions about that. I want families to know about that. And so we continue to work yesterday, today, tomorrow, and Sunday. We believe that we are going to have some solutions in place. We do know that families want to know about next week. I believe, looking at it and the things that we need to implement with our bus drivers, it could be the middle of next week, but that's what we are shooting for right now. We will have a final decision on that in the next 24 hours to give parents plenty of opportunity to do that. But what we want to make sure that we do, without a doubt, is when we come back, yes, there are still going to be challenges, there are going to be delays, we're working in the same system, but it's going to be much more efficient, and our communication will be much better with families and schools. And so we want to make sure we get that right before we put kids back on a school bus again. And so that is probably the timeline we're looking at. We've got some more work to do this afternoon and tonight before we make a final determination on that, but we'll be getting some information out to families about Monday and Tuesday over the weekend, hopefully by Saturday at the absolute latest, so families know. And so we know that it's been a challenging time for families. It's been a challenging time for us as a district. And, you know, in the end, I do believe, once again, these will be positive changes that impact student outcomes for JCPS. We have a new start times, as you know. We have a new student assignment plan. We have new curriculum for all of our schools. I could go on and on. We're working on weapons detection. It's a lot. It really is. They're all important. We're going to implement them, and we're going to be successful with them. I would like to say, you know, once again, if I could go back and do some different things about this, I definitely would 2 or 3 weeks ago. I also want to say our teams have been working nonstop over the summer. So the belief that, you know, we haven't been doing that, this has been the most active and challenging summer of my time as superintendency as we have pushed forward to make these changes. So we will move forward and we will make this successful as we move into next week. So happy to take any questions. I put it more on implementation. I mean, I think there are some challenges with the routes. There's no doubt about it. I'm not going to put it on the company they're working with us now. They'll be in town tomorrow with us. So, you know, I talked to them this morning. You know, there are some things, for instance, and this is whether you say it's implementation or the company. The company, the software says it is X amount of minutes from this stop to the next stop. But what's not built in is what happens if a parent's not at that stop and the bus driver has to wait 10 minutes or drive back to school at some point. So that, you know, those are things that may not have been built into it. I cause those implementation problems that we should have addressed, and we did not do that. I think the things around the depots that I told you about, like the waiting for, we've got to do much better about finding ways to address one bus who may be late into a depot. We've got to be better at our schools of making sure that our kids know what their bus stop is. And so if, you know, and this is a first day of school problem. It has always been a first day of school problem. A kid gets on a bus, you know, and they're not sure, but the bus driver passes their stop and the student says, wait a minute, I'm supposed to, and now the bus driver has to circle back around, take them back to their stop. and then that then takes the whole thing off schedule. So, you know, there are some changes. I'm not going to not say, well, let me say this. There are some changes that need to be made to the routing system. It is definitely not perfect, but we need to focus on our implementation.
You said if you could go back, you would change some things. Specifically, what would those be?
I'd be doing the things I'm doing right now, which are focusing on some of the, you know, I can't get into real specifics about some of the massive, you know, the changes that we're looking at. For instance, we are looking at ways in which if a child is on a bus and the parent is not there, instead of the bus driver returning to a school, we would issue someone in a board vehicle to go assist that bus so the bus could then go on their way. We are working on ways at our depots, once again, that if one bus is late, we let everyone go on so it doesn't hold up the whole system, and therefore we can make sure that the bus is, and then have an alternative for that bus when they come into the depot. So it would be one bus late instead of 20 buses late. There's a multitude of other things around how we're tagging kids at school. We've always tagged elementary schools. We know our high school and middle school kids need to have that as well now, because we have a multitude of routes. Every kid has at least 2 different bus drivers and 2 different bus numbers. And so, you know, those are things I would have done differently. They may be personnel without CDLs in a van or a smaller car.
How much is the contract with Alpha Route, and how did you end up choosing them?
I'm not sure what the number is. I'm sure they can give it to you. My guess is you probably already know that number. But I don't know exactly what that number is. Carolyn, can you get that number? 265,000? 265,000. And so we always go through an RFP process, a request for proposal, where we ask companies to put in a proposal. You know, we needed folks who could do this. We've been working on the same system for 40 or 50 years. And really all we did was start with our old system from the year before and just change it. And so what happened is when we had 950 bus drivers and bus routes, every year when it got down to 850, we would combine or do double and triple runs, then 750 and then 650. You know, and now we're down to under 600 routes. And so we needed to improve efficiencies. There was no way we could keep doing what we were doing with the amount that we had. So an RFP process was done. We interviewed, go through a process, interviewed anyone who gives a response to us, and then we select a company from there.
There's a ton of articles online and TV stories about the issues in Columbus with Alpha Route, and they ended up getting another company with different software because the issues there were so bad starting in September of 2022.
We spoke to Alpha Routes about that, and we spoke to Columbus about that specifically. Once again, I think what they said too was their major problem was implementation and how it talked from their computer system to Alpha Routes' computer system. So they acknowledged a lot of their problems, but we also know they've been very successful in other districts too.
What are you hearing from bus drivers as far as what went wrong and what they need as far as support?
Well, I mean, I'll just, you know, we have some of our systems working on very advanced technology. We have other systems that are not working on very advanced technology. Just being candid and self-admitting this. And so, for instance, our bus drivers, when we give them turn-by-turn directions about how to complete a route, it is essentially a sheet of paper that says take a right here, take a left here. I mean, that is their bus route system. Now, GPS on buses with turn-by-turn technology, there's some real stipulations by law, but we should be doing that. And so, you know, a problem is, without a doubt, is we've had to add thousands of additional stops from where we were a month ago when the routes came out. And so every time you do that, you add a stop somewhere along the way, which increases time. But we have to have stops for all kids. And so, you know, we continue to do that right now. And bus drivers may not, with our new system, they're not familiar with, you know, many of them have been doing the same route, the same area of town for 2 decades. And so now they're having to do multiple areas of town around efficiency. and that is causing them to, especially when stops are added, not know where to go. But the bus drivers pretty much told me that the direction on where to go is not necessarily their problem. It is the addition of stops that is the problem. It is not being familiar. It is many times kids not knowing exactly where to be dropped off or them having to circle back. It may kids not knowing their bus stop or their bus number. And then all the things I've shared already about depots and some of the other things. But we're working and looking into some GPS technology. That's not a next week solution, obviously, but that's something that we want to work towards.
There has been talk of splitting up the district. There was just a press conference yesterday by a group of Republican members. Do you think the district should be split up, and what do you have to say to them?
Well, I answered this in front of committee of Senate and House Education Committee. I'm not aware of any large, like consolidation is not an easy process, but it's a much easier process. You know, deconsolidation, if that's the right word, and I think about the challenges that will come with that. And so I've talked about the difference in this city demographically and socioeconomically. And with the how we would split up a city so that districts would not be 100% destitute by property assessments or, you know, and I guess, or very, very low property assessment and very, very high property assessment would be an enormous challenge, number one. Number two, peeling apart how the district comes apart. So first and foremost, if you said we got to do it in 2 years, every student at Manual has to go somewhere else in their own district. Every student in Mayo has to go somewhere else in their own district. We have so many students who are crossing their, what would be their resides or their district line. Like, how would you possibly peel that apart? And I would be interested to know what the families in the traditional program would say if there is no tradition. So now you're going to have to build 3 traditional programs if that's what the families want. You have alternative schools that we have. Every district has to have those. So instead of 1 or 2, now you're going to have 4, 6, or 8 of those schools. How long is it going to take to build those, and how are you going to? You're going to have 3 transportation systems. I mean, you know, I don't want to say it's not possible, but I think it would be the most disruptive thing to this community. And I will say once again, I think especially students in high poverty areas would suffer more than anywhere else as a result of that. That's my opinion.
You said part of the problem was implementation. For example, you spoke just now of the calculation if parents didn't show up wasn't accounted for as part of the plan. Who does that fall on? Who should be held accountable for those issues not being caught? Or were they caught and those concerns fell on deaf ears?
Yeah, well, it's always been an issue, so it's never been an issue. First day, that's why first day is always so challenging. And so once again, I said it from the very beginning, I take responsibility for it myself. But without a doubt, our transportation department and team in operations should have seen that and should have known that the times were too close, because especially on first day, you're not going to have a perfect situation. There's just no way around it. And so it falls on us.
Can you estimate the total number of students who were experiencing major delays in getting home? Like the totality of this, roughly how many students do you think were impacted by all those delays?
Well, I mean, any first day, every single bus is delayed. I mean, there are very few buses that aren't delayed on the first day of school. It was more this year.
But major delays, like hours getting home.
You know, we are right now running that data with our compounds to see exactly what those numbers are. You know, and so yes, it's not only the kids that got home at 8:30, but it's those from the 2:20 time who, or 9:30, or those that got left school at 2:30 and didn't get home till 5:30. So we don't have that number right now, but we know it's a significant number. I'm not going to duck away from that at all.
Have
What would
bus
you say to
drivers
parents
quit since Wednesday?
What's that?
Have any bus drivers quit since Wednesday?
No.
What would you say to parents who believe you should resign?
What would I say to parents? I say, well, I mean, that is obvious their opinion, and, you know, it is a situation where, once again, I have been tasked to lead bold change. And so that's what I'm doing. It comes with major challenges. I've taken responsibility for that, but going to keep doing that work until either I decide I'm not going to do it or the board decides that they don't want me to do it anymore.
Before you meet with bus drivers today, were you able to meet with them prior to the first day of school to get their input and what they thought about the bus route?
We met with our coordinators and some of the staff met with bus drivers, but I did not until today.
Some of your complaints are saying that some of the routes simply are not possible when they're driving from one end of town to the other just to pick up one student. Are there any considerations for shortening the routes themselves? I know that they're the little.
That's the long-term solution. So once again, I'll say this, to start school and when we change routes, staff are going to have to practice those routes. GPS would be a huge success for us if we could program the routes into GPS so it really takes off a lot of that practicing. So that is something that we're continuing to do. But they shared that same thing with me too, that the routes are too long, and especially if there's any hiccup, like I said, then it completely takes them off of schedule, and that just compounds. So we're trying to improve that efficiency short term so we can get kids back into school. But I told bus drivers and their coordinators that we want them to be a part of the solution and go for our longer term, which may be a couple of months, but working to improve efficiencies on those routes.
I've heard from drivers that they brought these concerns to their compound managers when they got their route sheets on August 1st, that, you know, the route sheets had inaccuracies, sending them the wrong way down one-way streets, having stops that don't exist. And did you all hear those complaints from managers? And if so, why not just move the school year back a little bit and, you know, work those out?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I talked to John Stovall often about it, and he, you know, he said that he told me about it, and he did, that there were a lot of concerns. So, I mean, this is not something I don't have conversations with, you know, folks about. And so that was one of the things that I've thought of a lot in my almost nonstop awake hours over the past 4 days. Is that something I should have done? And so, you know, you depend on your team a lot to make sure that they inform you. Are these accurate? What do we need to change to make it right? Or, but there's no doubt that we receive those complaints.
How much training and practice did the drivers get prior to the first day of school?
They got more days than we've ever had. We changed their calendar to have I believe 5 full days of training, which is, I don't know what it was before, but it's more than we've ever had to have 5 days of training. But once again, they're not really saying to me that it's as much the practice as it is some of the implementation things that I've talked about.
Yes, offer help for this week at some other time.
Not that I'm aware of. They offered me help yesterday morning. I was in contact with UPS yesterday morning. We've been in contact with them multiple times. So yesterday morning, to my knowledge, was the first, but I'm not sure if they reached out to someone else.
Are those talks developed?
Yes.
In what way?
That we're collaborating with them on some efficiencies, especially things like the GPS system, things like that, how they have tracking for, you know, the packages and things that they do. I'm not going to say I have not been a part of those conversations. So understand this, that this is not my expertise as far as, so, you know, our team is meeting with UPS. So I can't say specifically, you know, I've been debriefed afterwards about the conversation, but I can't specifically talk about those conversations.
Why isn't the district considering reimplementing the bus delay spreadsheet we used last year so families know that their buses are running behind?
So we are going to implement some things around communication, there is no doubt. Those spreadsheets last year, though, were really for pre-planned. So they were the things like, okay, we're missing 75 drivers, and for this week, here are the kids who will be showing up 2.5 hours late to school. I mean, that's what those spreadsheets were for. And so, but there is no question that the communication is something that when we get back on, that we improve that communication with families.
How exactly are you planning on improving communication with families going forward?
Well, what we want to do is make sure that, first of all, communicating with schools better, schools communicating with us better, and making sure that through the technology we have, we allow parents to know, just like we did last year, when we'd wake up in the morning and tell a bus that, you know, families, bus 1075 is going to be 40 minutes late being picked up. We plan on doing the same thing after school as well.
Speaking of communication, I for you to answer questions based on the fiasco that happened. Why were you not available to answer those questions yourself yesterday? And then also, from a viewer, do you think that you should give up the $75,000 raise that you just received in light of the problems?
Well, I think that's a good question. I mean, you know, I've gotten a lot on that raise, and here is what I'll say. I mean, I don't think it's any secret. The Courier reported on this that, you know, I have a pension where I can make the same as what I do now. I told the board that, you know, this is not me, you know, I live in the same house, the 1,050 square foot house I did 23 years ago. And so, but I did say, you know, I've got a family, I've got things that, yes, if I'm essentially volunteering to work in a job that I consider to be one of the most difficult job in the nation, period, in the nation. And I'm not the only one. These are just not just this one, but large urban district superintendencies are the most difficult jobs you can have, which is why I'm one of the most senior superintendents in the nation right now, and only have done this for 6 years. And so, you know, I told them that, and I said that you know, I'm committed to this year, but long term, volunteer is going to be difficult for me to continue to do this. They asked me to stay, and that is what they gave me. So I don't know. I'm thinking about that a lot. About you know, to say that it doesn't pain me that we had these major mistakes and I put it on my shoulders is it's, you know, it does. It pains me. And so anytime I'm an educator, and from the first day I started this job in Shawnee High School in '97, anytime a day didn't go well, it really pained me and it hurt me. But it's a lot different when you're superintendent and have 96,000 students.
Why wouldn't CPS plan to come back on Monday, or is there really no chance of that happening until midweek?
It's not likely. I'm going to say that. I mean, we still have a lot of work to do. We'll be working Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But it's, we are anticipating more middle of the week.
To the bus drivers who felt they have not been heard through this change, what can you tell them right now to assure them that that will be the case?
Well, first and foremost, I met with a team of them this morning, and I asked them, I said, you know, I can't meet, obviously, with a room of 600 bus drivers, so I need representation. I told them that from this point moving forward that I would be having a standing meeting with them once a month so that we could discuss and talk about things, and that they have representatives that they can take their issues to and they can bring them to me. So we talked for about an hour and 15 minutes this morning, a lot about some of the specifics in this scenario and some of the specific, not so specific, more general concerns that bus drivers had and have had for a while. And so I need to do a better job of that. You know, we have so many role groups, many times that becomes challenging, and I have to give that to other people. And meeting with one role group, you know, then obviously it's, there's many role groups. But I have committed to them that I will be meeting with them on a regular basis to get feedback from them, and that our team will be meeting over the weekend with our coordinators to get their input.
Superintendent Olio, following up on a previous question, why were you unavailable to take questions both from parents and media yesterday yourself?
I think I've been pretty accessible to the media. I mean, over the past 2 weeks, they've done at least 10 of these. Well, if you are, what are you asking me specifically? What are you asking me specifically?
Why was there no media availability yesterday?
We did not schedule a media. So if you are asking me if I was a dad yesterday, yes, I was a dad yesterday. If that's what you are asking me, my family has suffered a great deal from me having this job. I think that is really an unbelievable question from you. It is. I'm answering the question. And yes, did I drive my daughter to college? I don't know who else would do that. I drove my daughter to college while I worked the entire time. I was a dad yesterday morning, on the phone the entire time, dropped her off at college and came back and worked the entire time. So if there is an issue with that, me not being available to speak to you because I was being a dad, then that's what I was being. I was being a dad, and I will look back from that, and I haven't cried in 20 years. I cried when I dropped my daughter off at college yesterday and left. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Yes, they are clear to practice today and beginning this week. That's always a difficult decision to make, is how do you, ensure that if kids aren't in school, that they still can practice and play. So we held it out yesterday. We're allowing them to practice and play today and moving forward over the weekend. It's an option for them. We are paying them additional. They don't have to. A lot of them said, I know my routes. I don't have to do it. But if that's what they choose to do, they will be paid for that. I'll get you next. Go ahead.
I realize this is an immediate solution, but at what point as a district do we start looking at how we're busing kids all over? We're not charging kids. We let kids choose to go across the county. When does that not become feasible? Most districts aren't that accommodating.
I think it's something that we're really going to have to take a look at. And I want to say this, and I want families to know this, that, this, and I don't think we quite understand this. This is a district where we provide transportation to nearly every student who wants it, no matter where they go. That has stretched our district to absolute capacity with the drivers we have. When we had 950 bus drivers or in that neighborhood, it was feasible. With 400 less bus drivers, it is not feasible. We approached that solution last year. There's a couple of options that other cities have taken in. You only transport free and reduced lunch students. You only transport students to their reside schools. And so if you are going outside of your community, you have to provide that transportation. Right now, it is important to note, for the most part, not all of them, but for the most part, the long bus rides are those that are choosing to leave their community and go to a school outside of their community. And so, to answer your question a little more succinctly, if the trend continues the way it is, yes, those are going to be options we're going to have to explore. Go ahead.
Students and high school students going to remain on the same bus routes going forward?
I'm not aware of that situation. I'd have to ask our folks in transportation. I didn't think they were, but I don't want to comment unless I know that for a fact.
It seems you have mentioned both the difficulty of your job and the future of your job.
Repeat that for me again, please.
It seems you have mentioned both the difficulty of your position as well as the future of your position multiple times. It seems this is something that's weighed on you, at least even before this. How much has this added to that, and can you expand upon that?
Without getting too personal, it's weighed on me a great deal over the past several years because it's taken a major toll on my family. I mean, there is no doubt about it. Just from having to answer the question about whether I take my daughter to college or not, to the absolute vitriol that my family has to see on social media, just the nastiness, it really takes a toll. And this is not me. This is nationally. I mean, this is nationally. The amount of superintendents who have quit is immense, to the point where I'm fearful for this community and many of our communities that there will not be many, if any, applications for these jobs moving forward. And so, I get it. We've had to make incredibly tough decisions, over the past 6 or 7 years. COVID was absolutely awful when it came to decision making. And the hardest ones are when there's no right decision. And when I say no right decision, I mean half of the population are going to be very upset with you. There is no way around that. And so that means whatever decision you make, half of the people are going to express their opinions to you in a very animated way. And I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying that's the reality of the job right now. So from COVID, and then taking on, a lot, and even before that, state takeover, teacher sick outs, COVID, the changes we're trying to make around student assignment and things like that, because I'm not someone who is going to just say we're going to do, it's a lot easier as a superintendent to do the status quo. It really is. but it's not what's right for kids. And so, yeah, I mean, it weighs on me a lot. It weighs on me a great deal. But I've invested a lot into this district too, a lot of dog years, I'll be honest with you. I never thought I would have this job. I really didn't. I wanted to be a teacher, and then I wanted to be a principal. And I never thought my wife still tells me, like, why in the world are you doing this? After today's press conference, she'll be very much more upset about why I'm doing this. But yeah, there's no doubt it weighs on me, and it weighs on you too when you're doing it for no additional pay. No, and I make a good salary. I'm not saying that. I really, really do. But it's really difficult when you say you could be making nearly the same whether doing this or not doing this.